Music is the sign of the times.
Hip-hop is so diverse.
We want to, like, you know what I'm saying, give you our reality. We want to shock.
Music can influence you to do crazy stuff if you don't have a strong enough mind for it.
The message is everywhere. You have to seek it. There's always been conscious rap. There's always been gangster rap. When the message came out, Melly Mel spit that, "Don't push me because I'm close to the edge." There was a message in that record. They were talking about the life that they saw and what they were seeing. And they did it through hip hop. There are gonna be records and things that become popular for the moment, like NWA or Public Enemy or Ice-T, because the signs of the times demanded that. But then during that time, there were other rap going on that had no subject matter to it. It didn't apply to the signs of the times. It was just good record making. And we enjoyed it. And we left it at that. There was no reason for it to have a message in it. It was what it was. So you think of a great artist like Redman. There was no messaging in Redman's records. But we enjoyed the shit out of him. Every time he dropped something. Busta Rhymes. Historic. But we're not looking to Busta to give us the ghetto news. There are guys now who are taking the time out to try to make quality, long-lasting records. You know, there's the Drakes, there's the Futures, the Kendricks, the J. Coles. But unfortunately, to stay in the game, those same people might have to do some now shit just to keep in it.
I feel like hip-hop is so diverse. The subcategories, they're like different universes and shit. You sit here and listen to what they call conscious rap, and it really uplifts you and educates you. Wow, that's like going to school or some shit. Like, you know, like opening a book and reading a book. What you want to call the new rap, they want to label it mumbling or whatever. This shit is melodic. It really makes parties like turn the fuck up, way up. You got party rap. It's all about just shake that booty. God damn it, like go. And it's genius. If you get the right booty song, it's genius. We should figure out how many categories of rap are there really? And then we should start judging it like that. Stop trying to compare a 2017 rapper to a 1987 rapper and trying to put them side by side. We keep doing this shit in music and sports and all this shit. You can sit there all day and argue Michael Jordan, LeBron James. We're never gonna see them motherfuckers on the same court. So you're never gonna get to see Run DMC in their prime on stage with 2 Chainz in his prime. It's not gonna happen. It's just 2 different eras.
I believe the message of my music has evolved throughout my career as I evolve as a human being. 19-year-old kid, what could I be talking about that's gonna be so substantial? I talked about being dope. That was the thing, talk about being dope, so I talked about it. My music evolved to me saying, hey, this is who I am as a man now.
If you talk to a lot of old rappers, when they were young rappers, the older rappers didn't like them. And it's the same way now. You know, music is gonna change, music is gonna evolve, whether you like it or not. There's nothing you can do about it.
I guess I'm really receptive to everything that goes on around me. That's how I've written every song. You know what I'm saying? We're going to try to make life bigger, so my music is bigger. And, you know, I evolve with my music.
The first time I heard NWA, I've never heard so much cursing on a record. It sounded like this was bad, but I was like, this is fucking great. It's like, fuck that bitch. It's like, oh my fucking God. It was bad, but it felt so fucking good. Back then, it was like you weren't supposed to do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? That shit was like, okay, we wanna shock you. We wanna, like, you know what I'm saying, give you our reality. Now it's like, now you can, it's okay to be on drugs. Now it's okay to be a drug user. Like, you're not cool if you're not on lean, if you're not on Percocet, if you're not giving yourself a fucking heart attack because you fucking drowning yourself and then you're lifting yourself back up. It's crazy.
Well, some of the messages that's popular now is independence, taking as many drugs as you can. So I guess the next phase of era we want to deal with is we're going to be dealing with recovery.
I think think the drugs is a big challenge for that generation. I think that's the biggest monkey wrench that's got thrown into the culture. The view of like doing drugs is embraced. Our culture never embraced drugs. Hip-hop never embraced doing drugs. Weed was acceptable. Outside of that, it was like, nah, that's not what hip-hop embracing. Even the lean and all of that, you know, it's consequences, and it's for these young kids, they might get fooled into thinking that's the way.
I do think kids are going out and taking codeine and doing all those drugs because they hear it on that record and they see that artist doing it. In their head, they're cool. So if they want to be considered cool, let's do what he doing. I don't really know what it does, but let's do what he doing. That's the kind of effect that, you know, that kind of music can have on a generation. I don't want to be the guy that, you know, influenced all these kids to do these drugs or live that life. I don't want to be that. I want to actually have a message.
There's just a lot of people doing a lot of drugs in the underground rap scene. It's such an open thing that it's like, oh, they're drinking huge amounts of lean and they're doing huge amounts of drugs, and obviously they're getting that drug somehow, and blah, blah, blah. Even the cops are sort of just like turning a blind eye to it, right?
You could go back to the 70s and 80s and everybody was doing drugs. It was just a different drug that they were doing. If you're doing drugs in our culture right now, it's the cool thing. It is a problem. I do want to make it where our music or what message we put out lets people know that we can handle stuff a different way than just using drugs.
Like, people have always been doing drugs, hard drugs. It wasn't romanticized as much in rap. You look at rap in 1995 versus rap now, the big difference is that people then, if they were going to do heroin or do coke or whatever it is, that they would just not share that with the world in the same way, and now it's almost not an option. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of like low-key drug addicts that we don't know about, but more often than not, people seem attracted to personalities that are gonna just be authentically whatever they are.
Basically, the only healthy drug is marijuana. I do drugs, healthy drugs, and it's not a bad thing. A healthy drug is not harmful and can have good side effects. An unhealthy drug can ruin your life and fuck up your shit. Stay away from unhealthy drugs.
Snoop Dogg been smoking weed since he was fucking 6. Some of the greatest artists in the world, they do that.
Okay. The message has been more instilled in the lifestyle and like the image we set. You feel me? Music has kind of been desensitized, like, lately. It's desensitized, but it's very, like influential, because it's younger and younger kids listening to, like, our music all the time. So it's like, we don't necessarily want the kids to hear sipping lean, fucking hoes, like, we don't want to always hear that. I'm not finna be no saint and say, don't do drugs, blah, 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 but them little kids really do be popping Zans, and they really do be doing that shit for real. It's like, Zans, you can really die from them shits, bro.
Growing up in Houston, you know what I'm saying, lean is the biggest drug in Houston. There's little 8-year-old kids that are sipping lean, like, on some crazy stuff. It's like, this is a real thing, and now it's spreading all over. It's really spreading now, but it's part of it. Like, that's people do what they want to do. Like, I can't stop you from doing what you want to do.
Of course, we would all hope that these rappers at a certain point are gonna figure out how bad these drugs that they're doing are. I hate it. I wish that I could like instill some sense of moderation into them. And I assume that that's just gonna happen over time because they're just gonna have to figure it out or whatever. And it's like, you know, I've tried. I've sat down with a lot of rappers and tried to tell them, you know, the long-term effects of abusing opioids and stuff, but I can't act like an angel either. I can't sit here and act like I'm some fucking drug-free advocate when I've fucking done all the same shit that they're doing. It's just I worry about them because they're so young and they do so much of it, but at the same time, like, I mean, at the end of the day, what can you do?
I think authenticity is like part of the definition of hip-hop.
Music runs the world, so if it's no authenticity in the music, it's no authenticity in the world.
So many people
lie in their music, say they got this and they don't.
Rappers are either pretending like we are what we say on records, or you are that fucking gangster.
Because authenticity doesn't mean nothing anymore.
In the early 80s, prostitutes were beautiful and pimps were like fly. This was before crack hit. You think of a hoe, now you think of like a crack hit, you're like, oh, a hoe, dirty hoe. Man, these bitches was like glamorous, like models and shit. They was jumping in and out of cars, and the pimp was always cool as fuck. His car was clean, he was always cool. He never slipped out of his cool. And I was like, pimps are cool. People loved it. I just started rapping about it to the point where I sit here right now today, and I meet your daughter, and then your family meets me and go, bitch, that's too short. Like he about to pimp you. And I'm sitting there going, tell your mama and your daddy that I've been rapping all these years. I make a lot of money off rap. I ain't been pimping no hoes. It's just music. Rappers are confined to either pretending like we are what we say on records, or just being put in a box and just stereotype like you are that fucking gangster.
Chicago is a very soulful, blue-collar, authentic city. If you grew up and your mother had money, you couldn't go around and try to act like you was poor and a thug. You couldn't, like, that front was going nowhere. I think that taught us to be authentic to who we are as Chicagoans. Kanye wasn't trying to be like, oh, I'm about to be gangster. During the era where gangster was like, 50 Cent was the biggest rapper when Kanye came out. But Kanye came out like, look, this is who I am. I'm the college dropout. That is who we are. Like, we're not going to put up a front for anybody.
Authenticity definitely matters to me. Nobody should want to live in a fake world. Music runs the world. So if it's no authenticity in the music, it's no authenticity in the world.
I think authenticity is like part of the definition of hip-hop. Oh, yeah. Culture now is social media, so you gotta show yourself now more than ever, and your personality is gonna inevitably come out in your lifestyle, and people gonna know, like, you ain't about that life.
I think that so many people like to lie about their music, like lie in their music, say they got this and they don't. You know what I'm saying? Say they got chains and they drove this. We see your Instagram, you don't have all that. I think the one thing with the games and certain artists that become big, the people that understand who they are, they're true.
The stereotype in hip-hop music is you gotta be hard, you know what I'm saying? You gotta shoot somebody. That doesn't have to be your story. You know what I'm saying? Now, if it is your story, talk about what's real to you. You know what I'm saying? You need to be real to yourself. That's all it's about. So whatever is real to you and who you are, just be that through and express that through your music.
A lot of artists aren't being who they are. They're just being, you know, who that man is because they see that he made it. And if he made it, let me just do what he did. And I think that's the worst. Like, if you're trying to have a future in this industry, eventually people are gonna realize that that's not who you are. And when they do that, that's when it's gonna start to fall.
And keeping it real on hip-hop has become minute. Nobody cares about the truth if the lie is more entertaining, which is crazy, right? Just think about it. I never really wanted to say that I was a street guy. I never really wanted to stand by that. I just wanted to say it. If you believed me, then cool. If you didn't believe me, I didn't want to prove it. But what happened was, people, that's what hip hop is. So people go and they investigate, and they go to my hood and they say, what did he do? You sure? And they say, what? But in the 90s, that was fly to be exactly who you are. Nowadays, you gotta do different shit. Being real doesn't mean nothing anymore. It's being the most entertaining.
I think this generation is fighting for an identity of what they stand for. When the next generation comes and they look back at these guys from 2010 to 2017, what did they say in their records? Why would I want to hear this again in 2026?
These songs from the 90s and early 2000s, and these, you know, these hip hop songs that were discounted back then they're like fucking timeless hits. So let's fast forward to right now. Who are we gonna love? Who are we gonna throw away? And who are we gonna keep? Hold up. You can't predict a legendary artist or a timeless song. The only person that can tell you that story is time. And I know for a fact that some handful of young artists right now are going to be the equivalent of Stevie Wonder one day. Some piece of shit ass hip hop artist that you feel like you can't fucking relate to because the shit is, you can't understand the words, is going to be legendary. I guarantee you. The next shit that's hot in hip hop has not been created yet. Cause some little ass kid somewhere and who knows where the fuck America or who knows where the fuck on planet Earth is gonna create that shit. And none of us are gonna see it coming.
It's a culture out here that's built around the sound.
Chicago always been originators.
Atlanta's the biggest city for music. I can't really tell you like how it is to make it somewhere else.
In LA, obviously, we was gangbanging.
We have a story to tell.
This is what's happening around here.
We put on for our cities, you know what I mean?
New York was the home of hip-hop culture, and then LA was the next city to have a scene. So to come from Chicago, it was difficult. I was not getting that connection with the industry that I needed. I eventually, in late 90s, moved to New York to have a career and really be in the game for real. But to this day, I'm very grateful. Chicago is my heart, it's my home. It gave me an incredible foundation.
Chicago always been originators to me. You know, we always was like just up on stuff first. Swag, like just everything. But like Chicago also brought that conscious part out of me, you know, like Kanye, Common. You know, they was spitters. They just spit about the struggle, spitting about real shit, what was going on. You know, they was pushing the envelope. I definitely got that in me. And then I got the, of course, the trap side, drill side. That's just the energy, Chicago energy.
Huntsville, Alabama, it's one of those places, man. It's like small town, but everybody has big city dreams. But it's a lot of talent there. It's just, you know, figuring out how to hone it. And growing up there, man, it's pretty easy going. Like, I'm from Huntsville, but like, I went to high school in the outskirts, like the country. Like, I'm more country than I am hood. When you're a rapper, like a lot of times people think that you have to be from New York or LA or Miami or Atlanta to be a successful artist. Like, people are like, where you from? And you're like, Huntsville, Alabama. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I'm like, really, we have a story to tell. But as I got older, of course, I started listening to the music from all the big cities. I learned a lot. Like, we go through the same things that people in big cities go through.
I feel like making it in New York is a difficult question for me, like making it in New York versus anywhere else, because I don't know anything else. So I can't really tell you like how it is to make it somewhere else or how easy it is. Because I don't think it's any easier anywhere else. Like, you just gotta make it. Like, for you to make something, you just gotta make it. Who gives a fuck where you at? New York is just New York. It just happens we just got big buildings and some labels here. That don't mean just because I know what a building is, that don't mean I'm gonna get in that motherfucker.
Yeah, I grew up in the Crenshaw, Slauson area. It was like a gang culture. In LA, obviously, in the 90s especially, it was gang banging. Crenshaw was like a car street for sure. Everybody would pull their cars out on the weekend. Right now, LA hip hop is like, it still sounds super West Coast, but I think we like pushed it forward a little bit, just as far as like, even the content of what we rapping about. It's a lot of burglary going on, so you're hearing that in the music. It's a lot of different drugs, you're hearing that in the music. Even the wardrobe, even like, you hearing that, but you know, I think that as much as we want to evolve and take the sound forward, it's a culture out here that's built around the sound. And you know what I mean, we gotta build on that.
You hear the Houston and you hear the Atlanta in our music. And you also hear the LA in our music as well. You know what I'm saying? We save you from Houston, Atlanta. Like, cause we put on for our cities, you know what I mean? Only thing is Houston does a little bit like more chopped and screwed and kind of a little chill, a lot of more chill, and then Atlanta is like more the turn to like dancing, you know what I'm saying? Dance and stuff, but it gives you the same, it's on the same vibe.
The sound from Atlanta, man, it's running the music industry right now. The trap sound, that you would say, which was originated by T.I., who I'm signed to, that's dope in itself.
I feel like Atlanta's the mecca of hip-hop. The reason why is I think we support home first. And I think that's the problem with a lot of different other markets is that it's hate. It's like you mad at the next guy for doing it.
Well, hip-hop for us was a way to get messages out there. It was a way to promote. It was a way to tell somebody what else was going on in their hood because we didn't see it. So if we wanted to know what was going on in Atlanta, we couldn't just pop on a regular local news station because they ain't showing us that. And then the bigger news stations are showing us what they want to show us. So if we want to know what's going on, we have to find our own methods, and usually that was from music. So we can know what the drug game is like down there, what the killing is like down there, what the educational system is like down there, what the teen pregnancy problem is down there, what the syrup problem is down there, what the weed is like there, what the girls are like there, what the club scene. You want to know it all? You listen to the music and they'll tell you. That was our hood news.
I thought that was a part of what my responsibility was to mention the current events in my area, because I'm representing Oakland, California and the Bay Area, and I want the listener to know what the fuck's going on. This is what's happening around here, and this is how we get down. And that was the bragging part of rap that you inherited from the culture. And you're like, not only do you brag and say, I feel like where I'm from is the best place, but then you go, like, we over here going through some real shit over here too. That's why, you know, we have our ups and downs, and this is real life. I wanted to portray that about Oakland, and I love it when I hear another rapper paint a picture of Chicago or Detroit or New York or Miami or Houston. I love it. So that is hip-hop's character.
I said left foot twice. It's okay. You know what I meant.
For sure.
Wait, I feel like I'm about to do the same thing I just did.
Yeah, straight. I'm good.
That's it.
DMX was fun. You see me though? You see me? Are you recording?